Herr Kahn, wie holt man eigentlich das Double?
Ganz einfach, mit einem neuen Samsung QLED-TV.
Jetzt QLED-TV-Aktionsgerät kaufen und Gutscheine für 6 Monate Live-Fußball aus europäischen Top-Ligen bekommen. Über Sky Ticket, DAZN und Eurosport Player in der Samsung Sportworld App. Mehr Infos auf samsung.de/sportworld.
Nur bis zum 17. Juni.
Blog Talk Radio.
Hello everyone, this is Chris and I would like to invite you to a conversation about your Kundalini awakening experience. This day is Wednesday, May 29th, 2013, 3 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time on this world, planet Earth. Today, I say that today because we'll be going a little bit outside of the planet Earth physical environs in our conversation today, which is about the out-of-body experience. But first, I would like to welcome Santara. Hello, Santara. I'd like to welcome Santara.
Hello, hello, Prism. I've only just arrived.
Yes, I noticed that. So hello, and hello to everyone who is listening live, and to everyone who is going to listen to this program in the archives. The archives meaning those who listen to us at a future date, further down the road than, say, May 29th, 3 o'clock p.m. One thing I would like to do is I'd like to go through some of the other areas where you can receive and read some of this information, and that would be Kundalini Awakening Systems, .com. And this is a website designed by Glenn Ola, and I'd like to say thank you to Glenn. So that is Kundalini Awakening Systems1.com, and then we have a Yahoo group of the same name. We have a Facebook group of the same name on Facebook. We also have a Kundalini Ashram group. We have Kundalini exclamation point group, and we have Kundalini Healing, which is on the Facebook network of groups, and then we also have a Kundalini Healing on the Yahoo network of groups. And so these are areas where you can also read and interact with other people with regards to the Kundalini. On YouTube, we have Chrism and then O Kundalini, and it should be spelled Chrism Zero Kundalini at YouTube, and there's about 241 videos there for people to look through, and you can also ask questions there as well. Yes, Sarah?
Oh, sorry, if I may just interrupt you, Chris, and I'm not sure if you were finished, but I would like to say something, if I may, and that is, maybe not everybody knows that you and Prism work full-time at supporting people about Kundalini, about teaching about Kundalini, and that you work full-time on the Kundalini Awakening Systems websites and Yahoo groups and all of that, and that it's your full-time work, but that it is work that you do not get paid for, and therefore you actually are dependent on people sending donations in, and I would like at this stage to please ask people to be aware of this and to appreciate the support that they're receiving listening to this show and for all the teachings that you give. And in doing this, they are also providing a service if they support you to other people who need this information and teaching within a Kundalini context, because, it is when we receive teaching and assistance like this that it enables people to live their lives within the Kundalini agenda in the best way possible. And so I'd really ask people to consider sending a donation, and if I may give them a way of doing that, Prism has a website, or at least a blog spot, called Ascension Kundalini blogspot.com. So you'd find it by going to www.ascensionkundaliniblogspot.com, and there's a donation button on that blog spot, and this is actually the quickest and easiest, safest and most efficient way of supporting Prism in the work that he does. And so, Quilton, if I may, again, towards the end of the show, maybe give out that, and maybe as a sponsor, you'd allow me to do that during every program, because I think it's very necessary to put it out there for people who are listening. So, sorry for the interruption, and thank you.
Yes, I have been chastised by my students for not giving out that information, and thank you, Amelia, for giving out that information. And the website again is for the donation. If you wish to make a donation for this information to continue, and perhaps if it's helped you, the blog spot is www.ascension, ASCENSION, Kundalini, blogspot, blogspot.com, and that will take you right to the Ascension Kundalini blogspot blog, and on the upper right-hand corner you'll see a PayPal button there that says donations. And so if you have been served in any way by anything that I have done, and if you wish to give back, that is an opportunity to do so. Let's begin. OBEs. OBEs actually have a direct connection to the Kundalini. I should, before I start, here at the ashram, Barbara, who is the owner of the ashram, she runs an animal welfare facility. And so you may hear birds in the back, or dogs, or, we have birds, dogs, turtles, fish, cats, and we honor all forms of life here. And so you may hear some of those wanting to say hello to you in the background, as well as maybe a phone call. I'm not going to answer it, but it'll ring for a few times before the answer machine picks up. So OBEs. OBEs are out-of-body experiences. Out-of-body experiences. And these have the ability to trigger Kundalini experiences in people, seriously trigger them. There is an anatomy of an out-of-body experience, which we will get into. But I just want you to know that the out-of-body experience phenomena, which millions of people have experienced, is a real thing. It is not just dreams. It is not fantasy. It is not anything that the medical or the scientific community would look at that and just kind of disrespect it for its viability as an actual reality. It is an actual reality. It is an actual reality. You need to understand that. It is real, and it happens to many people, and because the scientific community can't measure it, and because the medical community doesn't know what to do about it, therefore, for them, they choose to just bury their head in the sand, and therefore it doesn't exist for them, and so therefore you didn't have that very, very real experience that you had, according to them. The military, on the other hand, the military knows this is real, but they will publicly support the scientific and medical community in the denial of this reality. Just that being said, the OBE phenomena, which I've had naturally, and which I've also tried different various ways to initiate in my experience with it, is very real, very beautiful experience, and a very defined and excellent source of information for you as you live your spiritual life, your spirit inhabiting a body life. This is extensively covered by many different authors now. A lot of different authors have covered this. Robert Monroe, Monroe, is one of the first people to explore this in depth, and his book Journeys Out of the Body was one that I read early in my process. I was having conscious out-of-body experiences before the awakening of the Kundalini in me, and it was seen as a precursor to to this physical body's infusion of Kundalini. With the OBE, you open up many, many dimensions of experience. And some people are just happy going with the OBEs, going with those out-of-body experiences that they can have every night. Many friends of mine are just, they just love the OBE experience, and so this is what they do. And they set up little exercises and experiments and, proving to an awake person that a sleeping person having an OBE has visited them, or, they could see what time it was on the clock, at what date it was on the calendar, and what that awake person was doing. And then when they wake up, they'll meet their, awake friend and said, okay, you were cutting bread at 3:00 p.m., and you were singing Tiptoe Through the Tulips looking out the window. And, they go for different verification experiments, such as that and other ways. And it's all very good. It's all, it's fun. It's enjoyable. One of the frightening aspects of it at first for a person is the very fact that sometime or other during the out-of-body separation event, you may just turn over and see your body sleeping in its bed below you. And you will realize that there is a defined separation between you and your physical body. And some people feel like they are dying. They feel like they have died, and their spirit is moving into, say, hopefully for their sake, heaven, or other people, maybe not that particular spot. But they're really, they're frightened, and they're frightened so badly it becomes a death issue. It becomes a fear of death issue, which is a primal issue in a person. And this primal issue can drive that person's interest or desire to have an OBE into a fear against ever having an OBE. And so I want you to realize that you're not dead. You are always connected to the living body that is dreaming down there. And I have done this. I have turned over. I've seen myself about 15 feet below me, sleeping in the positions that I usually sleep in, and it's all good. It's all good. You don't ever need to worry about being disconnected from your body. Let me go ahead and give out the numbers, as there may be some people who want to call. The number for call-in is 347-934-0026. That's 347-934-0026. I welcome anybody who wants to call, and I see that some folks have called in and just listening, and I'd like to say hello to you. And I'd like to say hello to guest 4403-4428 and Starlight. Hello to all of you. As the OBE, the out-of-body experience, can be defined as the spirit separating from the body. So as you're sleeping, or you're in deep meditation, or if you're in a severe injury, and say you're semi-unconscious, the body can separate from the physical body. So the spiritual, energetic body can separate from the physical body and enjoy a whole new dimension of experience. And these are experiences that you will remember. You will form energy-based memory engrams, and that's ENGRAMS, energetic-based memory engrams that will be stored in your brain as actual experiential data that your brain will work with. As I said, I've had these many times. If you go out of body, you see yourself sleeping there, there is no entity that's going to jump in and try to move your body. There is very little to be afraid of, unless, of course, you're dabbling in some of the black arts, or somebody is trying to do something to you that might have a nefarious intention. And even then, it's very difficult for them to break through into the reality that you're in. You also have, shall we say, spiritual assistance from entities that are of a spiritual nature that really are there to guide you. They can also guide others that may have a nefarious interest in you away from you. So in many, many ways, you are protected so that you can learn and experience this extraordinary, beautiful experience. So I don't want you to think that there, ghosts are waiting around you, waiting to just jump in as soon as you go out. You're never unattached from your body, as I mentioned before. You're not unattached. There is something called, for lack of a better term, a silver cord. And it is there. It is a real thing, and you can really feel it. My silver cord was attached behind my head, and I could feel an actual attachment of it. And it's a very, very, very highly vibrating molecular structure that connects the physical body to the etheric or the spiritual body. And this has no limitation on how far you can go. It's not like a rope. It doesn't go 50 feet and then stop. Okay, it just keeps going. And so you never have to worry about a limitation of distance with regard to the silver cord. You don't want to go, oh, gosh, I can't go to Alpha Centauri. That's just too far. And, my etheric cord or my silver cord won't work. It will go to Alpha Centauri and to the 1 billionth nebula further than that. So no worries about time and distance with regards to the silver cord, which means, once again, that you are never disconnected from your body. I have been out of body, and I have heard somebody in the neighborhood pounding on a hammer while I'm out of body. So sensory perception will travel up the silver cord to you as a sensorial input, and that sensorial input, you will be able to ascertain what it is. At this particular time, there was a gentleman about, maybe 50 yards away from where I was sleeping, pounding a hammer on a piece of metal on an anvil. So it was going, clang, clang, clang. And I heard it when I was probably in about a 400-mile orbit around the Earth, asking questions about, certain areas of my life, and I wanted more information on it. And I realized that, clang, 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 that was Mr. What's-His-Name next door working on his metal, which he was wont to do at times. And I kind of pondered how cool it was to be able to partake of the physical reality as well as the spiritual dimension reality at the same time. I thought that was very cool, and I still think that's very cool. So as you go into the out-of-body experience, you're going to, the physical body in the separation sequence will go through various sensations and will give you various information stimulus as the sequence continues. So let's get started on that. The separation sequence is all about the physical body and the consciousness of the physical body becoming rested enough that the separation sequence can be initiated. There are certain breathing techniques that you don't really need to follow, except just breathing normally and you don't need to do bellows breath or pumping your breath really hard in and out. You don't need to try to take little sips of air, anything like that. You just breathe normally, lay on your back. Typically, that is one thing that a lot of people will partake of. Lay on the back. And just kind of be comfortable. I suggest you do this in the daytime. Okay, when I go pick up people at the airport, I do it in the car. okay, waiting for people to fly in. I'd get there about an hour early, and I'd just kind of kick back in a parking lot somewhere, and I would do some astral traveling. And I do suggest daytime because if you try it in the nighttime, you're more than likely just to go to sleep, and you won't remember the separation sequence, nor will you remember the journey out of the body that you're making at that time. If you do it in the daytime, you're not as likely to go to sleep. You can have the whole sequence and experience can last about an hour, and you come back with a full retention of memories and experiences and knowledge and information, you name it. I mean, you'll have typically, I'm not going to speak in in terms that are undeniable, but typically you'll have a good memory of what occurred to you as you were astral projecting. So you just lie on your back, and it's nice to be in a darkened room. What I would do is I would just kind of put a blindfold over myself, because I'd do this at 11 in the morning or 2 in the afternoon, full on daytime, and I'd kind of lean the seat in the car back, and there are various CDs and sounds that you can purchase over the internet and at your bookstore. And I would use these sometimes because one system really worked for me, but it was only one sequence of one system really worked for me the best, and that was Robert Monroe's Hemisync, and that's spelled HEMI-SYNCH, Hemisync, and it's short for hemispheric synchronization. And I used that, and basically what it did is it would put a quality of pink noise or white noise into your headphones, and you have to use headphones delineated right or left. So you put the earbuds or the headphones in the appropriate ear, and you play the little tape, and he does this relaxation thing with you, and then you do a certain level of chanting, which I kind of liked, and boom. The nice thing about the conscious separation sequence is that you can see it happening. So you take down that information as well. You see it happening, and as you're seeing it happen, you're able to remember it, and eventually you don't need the tapes anymore. And so for me, and people have different things, but I'll tell you, from my authentic experience, for me, I would see the clouds of color coalescing behind my closed eyelids. And remember, this is pre-Kundalini for me. I would, after Kundalini, you see a lot of light. But pre-Kundalini, I'd see the clouds. My clouds are typically purple and green, and with the purple being the big background, and the green being the clouds that would come in and form into like energetic formations that were always moving. And as I would do this practice, the green would begin to solidify along the sides of the vision, and a tunnel would form with these green cloud formations. And once the tunnel was formed, the purple in the background became the end point. That the tunnel, would be the end point of the tunnel, and basically very gently and without a lot of excitement, you just allow yourself to be sucked up into the tunnel, and then boom, you pop right out of the body. And you can tell because you go right through the ceiling of the car, you go right through the metal roof of the car, and you're floating above the car, and then you're kind of deciding at that point where you want to go. In some cases, I'd fly out to my father's house, or in some cases, I would just take a cruise along the coastline, flying at about 150, 200 feet, and I would just follow a car, just, enjoy the view, take in the view, just beautiful feeling of freedom as you fly around here and there. And I never did try to to cause a person to notice me. I didn't want to do that. To be honest with you, I never had to go the whole, I need to prove the OBE thing is real for other people, because I already knew it was real for me, and so I just didn't really feel the need to prove it for other people. And then as I got better at it, I would use different techniques, like rolling out to the right. You can roll out of your body as your body reaches a certain vibrational point. Another technique is feeling. You just lay there and you're not using hemi-sync. It's just natural, so to say, without the use of a program. You just lay in bed and you breathe and you feel the energy of the body. And as you just lay there following your breath, you may begin to feel a wave of vibration start from your feet to the top of your head. And it's almost like it'll go from your feet and it'll bounce back down off the top of your head. And at first it'll be slow. But it's a definite feeling. It's a definite tactile feeling. But at first it'll be slow. It'll bounce slowly off the top of your head and then head on down to your feet. And then it'll bounce off your feet and head back to the top of your head. And this rate of traveling from head to toe will increase. And it'll increase, and it'll increase, and it'll get going pretty fast. And pretty soon, you'll hear the sound of a gunshot or a sound of thunder or a loud popping noise. And this is the actual separation sequence. This is the sound of the separation sequence as it takes place, and you are immediately out of your body, and you can see yourself sleeping, and you see the room, but you won't see the room. Typically, I wouldn't see the room as it normally was, because you got to remember, when you're in the out-of-body state, you're half in the physical reality and half in the spiritual reality, and that spiritual reality has a defined effect when you're out of body trying to perceive the physical reality. It's very different. It's very different. And once again, at this point, I'm going to go ahead and give you the numbers if you feel like calling in. 347-934-0026. 347-934-0026. And so as you're out of your body and you're discerning the spiritual makeup of where you are, many of the physical expressions, such as the wall and the ceiling and the bed and what you're wearing or not wearing, and many of the physical aspects of the physical reality will remain, but there will be other things added to it. Things may not be in the right place, or there will be different additions to the room, and if there are ghosts there, you may see the ghosts. You can interact with other spiritual qualities in that state. If you become afraid of them, though, you'll get slapped right back into your body. Fear has that ability to take your spiritual form and slam it back into the physical form. Sometimes you struggle with that, waking up in that way or getting slammed back in there. And sometimes it's, difficult, to say the least. One of the things that I forgot to mention about the separation sequence is the sleep paralysis. One will experience sleep paralysis, especially with a conscious OBE state. Sleep paralysis is where the body is asleep, but the mind is awake, okay? And yet you won't be able to move your legs. You won't be able to move your fingers. You won't even be able to open your eyes. It's almost like you're in you're trapped in the physical body, but you're not. It's a short-lived experience, and it's just part of the separation sequence. So if tonight, after listening to this program, you go to bed and you're laying there and you're doing your breathing and you start to feel yourself not being able to move your foot or your hand or something like that, I want you to encourage the sleep paralysis. As you encourage the sleep paralysis, the very next phase of the experience will be the vibrations that go from head to toe, toe to head, back and forth, back and forth. But you're going to want to reach the sleep paralysis stage first. It's been a few years since I've spoken about this subject, so I apologize if things are a little out of sequence. But yeah, so you go to bed, you're doing your breathing, the sleep paralysis comes on you, then the vibrations come on you, then the loud noises come on you, then you're popped out of your body. Don't let the sleep paralysis frighten you. This is what frightens many people who have this occur, consciously or not. All of a sudden they can't move themselves, and once again, it terrifies them if they don't know what it is. So now that you know what it is, you therefore do not have to be terrified, because you know what it is. You have reference point. So as you pop out of the body, for me, I had a great joy of accomplishment. You know, when I'd pop out of the body, I'd go, yes, because it didn't work all the time. I had too many stimulants to drink that night, or I had something else on my mind, and I couldn't relax enough, and so it didn't always work. And so whenever it did work, I was very, very happy and joyful that, oh, right on, here we go. And I would decide what I was going to do. In many cases, I had an issue on my mind, and so I would just kind of broadcast the thought out from myself. I'd even speak it out loud. I would say the situation is such and such. And this is when my spiritual helpers would come, and they would take me to wherever it was that would be the most appropriate answer to the situation that I had given them. And typically for me it was not in words, because as I look back that time, I was being trained towards the Kundalini language of dream interpretation at that time. And so I was being given information that was in the Kundalini language without knowing that it was the Kundalini language. I didn't know that Kundalini even had a language at that time. And so, as that would occur, I'd be looking at these symbols of the information, and I'd have to try to discern what those symbols meant to me and what it is I wanted to do with that information. And if I didn't understand it, I'd say, I don't understand it, and I'd ask for a different format of the information being given. But I knew they wouldn't tell me verbally, and they wouldn't give it to me in writing. They wouldn't do it on a left-hand level. They'd always do it on a right-brain level. And because, I was so left-brain, my right brain wasn't used as much. And so within that context, I would say, I don't understand this, tell me in a different way. And so I'd be part of a story or some sort of a situation where I'd be given information. I have to say, though, one time I was put in front of an old guy in what looked like his studio, and he did give me some verbal information, so that was nice. So I can't say that you won't get verbal information or written information. All I can say is that I didn't get it. Most of my experiences in the out-of-body areas. In the out-of-body areas, you can meet other people that are out of body. You can meet dead people that you've known that have passed. I met a few dead people, friends of mine from high school, who had passed, and they're doing their own thing. And some of them, depending on how soon they have passed, if there was an immediate destructive passing of an individual, they may not realize that they've passed, and there's a certain amount of education for them to go through about their passing, And maybe they weren't ready. Nobody is really ready to die, I don't think, for the most part. Most people want to continue to live, and they have to go through the whole realization that they have indeed passed. And then there may be some anger. It's like, well, I wasn't done. I had this to do and that to do and this to do and that to do. And there's a lot of anger for them to have to kind of move through before they can get to a point of understanding their life and why that that they chose this time to pass in their life, especially with younger people. So you can visit living people as well. You can visit them. You don't necessarily get to look through their window as they're taking a shower, or watch them undress, or things of that nature. And if you do, you deserve to get slammed that way. And sometimes that will occur. You'll get slammed, and when you get slammed in the out of body state, it has a much more powerful feeling than when you're getting slammed in the physical state. So there is even there a level of ethics that one must prescribe or ascribe to themselves as they're going in and out and around other living beings. Some of those who, well, I won't go into breaking those rules. Once again, I'll put the numbers out: 347-934-0026. So if you have an experience of the out-of-body variety or anything that you'd like to talk about with regards to your Kundalini experience, I want you to feel free to call. 347-934-0026. So with the out-of-body experience, you're open to levels of knowledge and information that can be extremely profound. Extremely profound. If you're on a spiritual path, well, you can make spiritual path-based inquiries that will allow you to come into knowledge that is not yet written in the books that are here in this world. And if they have ever been written on this world, then those writings have long since been destroyed, or they're indecipherable to you in this lifetime. Now let's talk about the Akashic records, since we're on the topic of books. There's a lot of, shall we say, misinformation about access to the Akashic records by people of a 5 sense limited awareness going, oh yes, and I contacted Archangel Michael, and he decided that I needed to go to the Akashic records to read up about Barney Jones, and that's a fictitious name, Barney Jones, and so I wanted to find out if Barney Jones was indeed using herbicides upon his garden, even though he said he wasn't. I think he's lying. So I talked to Archangel Michael, and Archangel Michael sent me to the Akashic records, whereby I was able to ascertain that, yes, of course, he was using pesticides on his garden. That doesn't occur. You don't get to know about other people. You get to know about yourself. You don't get to know about other people. You don't get to pry into another person's experience, pry into another person's past lives, pry into another person's scenario at all beyond what your own healing, shall we say, attitude will permit. So unless you're, of course, Kundalini awakened, and that's a whole different deal. If you're Kundalini awakened, well, yeah, you do get to work with a person through healing, but you don't actually do it. It's the Kundalini that's working on those people through you. And so once again, your ego mind does not get to go into the Akashic records and look into other people's life experiences. So if that has been on your agenda and it's been something you've been striving for, well, I apologize if I burst your bubble. No, people's information is for that individual. It's not to say that other entities don't get to see it. That may be the case. There is really no such thing as privacy. Okay, But within the 5 sense scenario, if you're walking around living a 5 sense lifetime, because of the veil of forgetfulness, you are not allowed to enter into the Akashic records of another person. And you certainly aren't going to, you aren't going to go, oh, okay, with a specific agenda that is only feeding an ego agenda in the physical world. You're not, they're not going to play the ego games with you. And so, but an entity will. An entity will. And an entity will lie to you and say, oh, Bob Jones, oh, yes. Oh, I think his name was Bob Jones. I can't remember actually. Mr. Jones was indeed using pesticides, the worst ones, too. And worse than that, a bird spread it over to your organic garden, and, oh, you should be so upset. And so the ignorant person will take the words of the entity, the discarnate entity, as truth, because there is nobody else is saying anything, and so this entity will say that, and the person will kind of like go off on Mr. Jones. Entities abound in the out-of-body state as well. You don't need to partake of them. You don't need to enter into a conversation. You don't need to do anything. A lot of your spiritual protection will give you filtration over such events. And so remember, the spiritual assistance comes in the form of hands, disembodied hands. They will lift you out of your body sometimes, give you a little help with that. They will take you by the hand and pull you in a certain directions in an answer to your request for experience or knowledge on a certain subject. Or you'll just feel yourself being propelled into certain areas. But, back then, before the Kundalini, I could see entities from a child, but I would never see them in the out-of-body state. And even though I knew they were there, I wouldn't see them, and I think I was actually being protected from that sight by the spiritual assistant, because the spiritual assistants wanted me to have very, very distinct, safe experiences that 30 years later I would be telling you about right now on this day. So you can interact with entities. And the Akashic records are not necessarily there for you to check out somebody else's books. Okay, so it's kind of clear that up a little bit. However, your situation is more than open for you to peruse and for you to experience. Your situation and perhaps how you interact with other people, that is also an available experience for you to have. Now, if your mother passed or your father passed and you're in a heavy level of grief, that may not be allowed. That may not be allowed because then you become addicted to wanting to leave the body so that you can be with your loved one, and that is not the purpose of having a body. The purpose of having a body and a life on this planet and in this plane is to gain the necessary level of experience, and some of that experience is to be detached from a loved one by virtue of the expiration of that loved one, and the grief that ensues can drive a person to try to learn different metaphysical practices in order to visit and to reaffirm and reestablish that connection with the loved one. But typically, not always, but typically this is not to be allowed. You don't get to do that. You have to get over that attachment. You have to have faith that they indeed do move on, and they do move on. As soon as, eventually after your grief is finished, you will be able to visit them, and they will be able to visit you. But until your grief has reached the level of maturation, they will not be allowed, and neither will you be allowed to visit in that way. But that is typical. I mean, there's going to be exceptions to that rule. Some kids and some adults can see the dearly departed immediately after that departation has occurred. I can see people at the funerals. Typically you get to see your own funeral, good or bad, depending, of course, on how bad your badness was. So within the out-of-body state, you do get to interact with other beings and other entities and other phenomena that you would not normally run into here in the physical world. One of these things is one of these places that you can go to is a place that I will just loosely term universal dream platform, a universal dream platform. And what that is you go out of body and you come to this place where you see other people that are having dreams. Now, first thing I need to cover with you is that every time you go to sleep, you leave your body. The only difference between an OBE and regular sleeping and dreaming is that with the OBE, you go there intentionally rather than waiting, like most of the people just wait to go to sleep, and then they'll either remember their dream, which is in reality an out-of-body experience, or they don't remember their dreams at all, which is the effect of the veil of forgetfulness that is placed over everybody. Okay, so when you go into the astral consciously, you can see, at least I could, I was allowed to see the effects of people's dreams upon them. And they are, it's like this big platform. And on this platform, you see people running around or walking around or flying around. You see some people that are being chased and they're screaming. You don't necessarily see what's chasing them. You just see them being pursued. They're screaming in terror, working out a karma, working out a problem in their day life. You see them chatting up and walking with other people. You see very peaceful scenarios, and you see some violent, fear-filled scenarios. You see, and it's all together on this one big platform, and you can see it. And it won't. You can't interfere. However, you cannot interfere in what that other person's doing. If you try to stand in the way of the person who's being chased, they'll run right through you. They will literally run right through you, and it's kind of cool in a way. But you don't want to get in the way of other people having their thing. They're working through it. They're doing their best, and they're also being supported and assisted by spiritual guidance as well in the dream state. So yeah, this kind of pertains to what I was just talking about with regards to interacting with other people during the dream state. I remember one time, one of the times, another, you get interacted with as well. I mean, one of the most funny for me, at least, was I was trying to go out of body at the time. Actually, I was trying to wake up inside of the dream, and I haven't covered that yet, but I was trying to wake up inside the dream. And so in the dream, my body was running. I was like in a running race, and this blonde guy, really tall blonde guy, comes up behind me, like totally passing me up. Like, if I was going 15 miles an hour, that guy's going 25. And he's passing me up, and he looks at me, and he goes, "Wake up, wake up." And then he zooms right on by. So you do get help. And sometimes it's pretty humorous. Which leads me into another way to go out of body is to wake up inside the dream. I did this more than a few times. Instead of going the conscious separation sequence route, you can go the waking up in the middle of the dream route. And so to do this, one way is to do some dream seeding. And so in your daytime, like at 9 o'clock in the morning, lunchtime, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 6 o'clock in the early evening, you say to yourself, "I will wake up during my dreams. I will remember my dream. I will remember I'm dreaming, and I will wake up in the dream. And you do this day in, day out, so that your subconscious gets the message. And then one night, however long it will take, it's dependent upon you and your equation. But one night, you will wake up inside your dream, and you'll realize it. And once again, this amazing level of happiness and joy and freedom and accomplishment comes upon you. Sometimes it comes upon you so much that you wake up. It pops you right out of the dream state. And so, of course, you have to, you go back in and you try it again. You wake up inside the dream, and then you're having an out-of-body experience. You just sidestep the separation sequence. And this is also a lucid dream. Having a lucid dream, lucid meaning cogency. You're having full conscious awareness inside the dream state. Out-of-body experiences and lucid dreaming are very, very, very similar. One of the main differences is the lack of a separation sequence to experience. And sometimes that can just be too profound for people, the separation sequence, the loud noise, the vibrations, the sleep paralysis, all of that. It can add up to an equation that isn't easy for people to move through their fears with. And so you're given other avenues of having the lucid dream, which is, of course, waking up in the dream state, or just coming into lucidity as you're out of body. And then you just, and I've done this as well, you just skip the separation sequence and boom, you're out of the body. And you're out of the body, and you're going, okay, what am I going to do now? For many times I would create a platform. I always liked a low Earth orbit because I love to see the world from that altitude. And so I'd be about maybe 350 miles, 400 miles outside of the Earth, and I would create a wooden, black platform, kind of like what you'd see on a Steinway piano, only more rectangular. And I would stand on that, and I would decide where it is I wanted to go, and decide where it is what it is I wanted to do. What question that I wasn't finding an answer in the daylight experience would I be giving to my spiritual assistants so that they could give me a story or a symbol or an experience that would address that situation. So you can, so far I've discussed three different ways. The conscious separation sequence where, you're lying down your back, you're doing regular breathing, you invite the sleep paralysis to come, you have the sleep paralysis, you invite the head-to-toe, toe-to-head vibrations to come, they increase in velocity, you hear the loud snap, pop, thunder, gunshot, whatever. You're outside of your body and you're flying out through the roof on your way. Or you seed the dreams in the daytime and you come awake in the dream state and have your OBE that way. Or you just bypass the separation sequence and you come awake right after you're in the astral, or four separate ways. You use something like the hemispheric synchronization sound waves. This is put out by the Monroe Institute. You can find them. They're out of Faber, Virginia, I think, unless they've changed their address. But they're the Monroe Institute. And now, they got everything. They're really trying to capitalize on it. They got the hemi-sync music, romantic music, enhance your smell, enhance your love life, enhance this, they've gone way overboard with the commercialism aspect. And, of course, that's what they want to do. They want to make as much money as they can. The tapes that I got at that time, and they were tapes, tells you how old I am, they were called Wave 1. So you want you can order it online, I think, and it's a CD now, and you get, the one that has Wave 1, and on Wave 1 you had it would be the Introduction to Focus 10, is what it's called. Wave 1, the Introduction to Focus 10. And that was the one that, he does a relaxation talk down for you. But I just seem to have the most luck with that one. I enjoyed it. I can't find it now, but I don't really need it now with the Kundalini. But anyway, so 4 different ways to go out of the body. And some of the things that you may experience when you are out of the body, there are some more things that I want to talk about. But just to kind of give you an idea, and once again, I will give you a call-in number, 347-934-0026, if you have any questions about this. If you're having bad dreams, you may want to look at what it is that's causing you to have that bad dream. Sometimes it's a karma. Sometimes it's something that happened to you as a child. Sometimes it's something that's bothering you in your daily life, and you can find out what that is by doing some self-introspection. Otherwise, you can ask your spiritual assistants in the out-of-body state to tell you a story or to give you an idea of what you need to do in order to work this out. You can solve everyday problems in the astral dimension. It is absolutely true. I did it more than once. And I was asking some pretty hard questions. The situations I was in during these periods were not easy. Some of them were life and death situations, and I couldn't get information from a 5 sense person because they had no idea on a spiritual level what was occurring. And so I would ask the spiritual assistants, and I got it over and over and over again. So at least for me, this occurred, and I have a feeling that for you, your own spiritual assistants will also help you. Santara has had some experiences with the out-of-body realm, and at this point, go ahead and invite Santara to come online and tell some stories about her experiences. Hi, Santara.
Hi, Christian. That's been fascinating listening to you because I'm remembering that as a child, I had some amazing out-of-body experiences. In fact, I used to go there night after night, and it was amazing. But as a young person and as an older adult pre-Kundalini, I didn't have such a good time. I actually spent many, many years in fear, stuck in that place that you were describing, which was sleep paralysis and having the fear of death and being slammed back into my body. Hello?
Sorry. Yeah,
yes?
Can you speak slowly and clearly? I know that you're on the coast of France there, and I know that you don't have a good connection. So if you could speak slowly and clearly.
Okay, I shall. I'll begin again by saying that as a child, I had some wonderful out-of-body experiences, but as a young person, pre-Kundalini, and as an older adult, I spent a lot of time in fear during that phase of sleep paralysis, where I would wake up in an absolute panic because I couldn't move. Or if I got beyond that, I would be aware of myself sleeping and I would slam back into my body. And I didn't understand about OBEs and fear. I spent a lot of time in fear. But then Kundalini came and, this changed over the years. And something that I wanted to ask you about, actually, if I may, and that would be, what about, I have had the experience of leaving my body, observing myself, but not having control over where I go. That doesn't seem to be something that I've done. It's like I am brought to places rather than making that decision. And I can remember traveling to a hospital and then looking out of somebody else's eyes. I was aware of somebody else's consciousness, and that has also happened where I have, again, left my body and traveled, and, as it were, experienced the consciousness of being a wolf, which is, not really traveling myself. I'm just interested if you could say a little bit about that.
Okay, all right. First of all, I'd like you to kind of go through your history of counseling and helpfulness for other people. Go ahead and give the folks listening what you have done since you were 21 in regards to giving service to other people. Please begin.
Oh, okay. Well, I was married at 21, and so I began to raise a family. But also, by the age of 30-something, I was working as a child birth antenatal teacher, and I was giving classes to couples, to people who were going through single pregnancies, and to groups. And then a few years later, I became a trained relationship counselor, and I spent 10 or 12 years doing that work, working with couples, working with families who were going through trauma, and separating couples, that sort of thing. So I spent, I suppose, 20 years giving service in that way, and lots of other voluntary work as well.
Okay, so given that history, and given that you were in a peri-Kundalini awakened state, basically what was happening is there's two reasons why one can't propel themselves where they want to go in the astral. One is they don't know how. One. Number two is their spiritual assistants won't allow it, because their out-of-body state is being used as a way to give service and training to the person that is out of body, but in your case, to also give healing to somebody in the hospital who can have it. Okay, so just for the same reason that you felt compelled to be so helpful to so many people in different ways, so was that same compelling guiding your out-of-body experience in that one instance with regard to going into the hospital and helping another person by occupying their mind and looking out through their eyes. Do you understand?
I understand, yes.
Okay, and so also with not knowing how to propel yourself in the astral, this is actually a common question, and I'm glad you brought that up. You think where you want to go. You have to know to do that, though. It's like now, because you know how to walk, you just kind of think and you walk towards wherever it is you want to go. But that's not always the case. And I'm going to turn you off. I'm getting a lot of back noise there. Okay. Yeah, and so you have to think about where you want to go, and then you will literally fly there. You will fly there, or you will go there instantaneously. And when I mean instantaneous, I mean it can be so fast that it deceives the consciousness. It is so fast. You will think that you are already there. Please ignore that telephone call. So you have to think about where you're going. If you can't think about where you're going, you can feel where you want to go. So you give an emotion to say you want to go to a beautiful South Pacific island in the South Pacific, and you've seen it in the picture, and you just want to go somewhere like that. When you feel that desire, you see the picture, and you are there. You are there. The sun is shining, the waves are crashing, and the water is clear. The coconuts have fallen next to the coconut tree. There's a hammock, And who knows, maybe there's even a Mai Tai, non-alcoholic, of course, waiting for you there. There might even be hammerheads. I don't know. But, I mean, the scenario is that if you think it and feel it, then you can go there. You can go there, okay? If you can think it and feel it, you can go there. And you have to have faith in that at first, because going there requires that you have faith in what it is you're doing. Now, however, that you know that if you think it, then you can go there, or if you feel it, then you can go there. Your propulsion within the astral realm is solidified. You can do it now. You can do it. In Santara's case, because she has practiced and practiced and practiced to be a healer for so long, for probably the majority of her life now, she was taken into a hospital setting. She was allowed to feel what another person's feeling, to see what another person's feeling. And I suspect that person may also have been able to share a portion of her consciousness as well. You have to remember that when you're giving a healing, especially within a Kundalini context, there's a tremendous amount of sharing that goes just through the introduction of the Kundalini into a person's body, into their human equation, so to speak. And so I think Santara was being given an opportunity to feel from a direct way and in a direct way what another person would be feeling. And I'm going to go ahead and turn you back on there, Santara. There you are. Hello.
Hello, back again. Yes.
Yeah. So so were you able to hear what I just said?
Yes, I did, and I think that is actually correct, because that has happened in other ways since then. But that was the most dramatic and first way that I had had that experience through that OBE. So what you've just said has linked a lot of other experiences for me as well, you know.
Yeah.
And now, while I don't consciously do as you're saying, I find that the Kundalini brings me instantly to places where I do have out-of-body experiences, and I am now able as well to feel myself going. I'm aware of the sleep paralysis occurring, and that shotgun is a very good description, that noise, and going through the feeling. But I think the Kundalini brings me to places. Rather, I have never actually deliberately chosen to go. So I'm going to consider doing that now, if I'm allowed.
Of course. I'm going to go ahead and put you on hold there, and you can still listen.
Okay.
So, Santara brings up some good points about the Kundalini and the Kundalini allowing her to do this or that. Within the Kundalini context, the vibrations that happen to the body, that happen, if you're just laying there and the sleep paralysis comes and the vibrations soon follow, those vibrations can have the action of stimulating the chakras to the point where a Kundalini awakening experience can be given. And once again, you'll have the karmic aptitude to do this. You will have the karmic aptitude to do this. And it does happen. And oh my gosh, that will unleash a whole new level of experience on the person who's having this. And the Kundalini, conversely, even though it can be awakened within the dream state this way, it will often ground a person. Not always, but often it will ground a person so that they're not going out of body, simply because most of the work on their body is now being done in the body. So it wants you to stay in the body. Now, of course, during the sleep time, it will give you very specific dream instructions, very specific dream experiences that all relate to the Kundalini, You're being given instruction on the language of the Kundalini. You're being given instruction on what entities are coming to you and why they're coming to you. You're giving instructions on Kriyas. Your body is actually being put into Kriyas. Your knowledge is being downloaded into your brain, and you're able to know things that you haven't studied, or speak languages that you haven't studied, or know about information on the material plane that you have not studied about. You're able to do certain things. I'm going to put a hello out there to Dr. Matt, because Dr. Matt, and that's his first name. I don't have permission to use his last name yet. So Dr. Matt, he's a very, very smart, very, very dynamic individual, and he is a PhD, so I call him Dr. Matt. Dr. Matt, he's able to do things with telekinesis and other things because his Kundalini has come awakened in him, and he's being taught the correct use of power, the correct use of will, and things of that nature. So a shout out to Dr. Matt. Hello, Matt, and I got to say it was a pleasure talking with you today. And just for everybody's information, I will be visiting Florida in June, in the latter part of June, and Dr. Matt has graciously offered to open up a hotel conference room. So if anybody wants to meet, we can have a little mini seminar. I feel bad since I canceled Boston, but this would be in Orlando, Florida, and we haven't set a date, but if anybody is interested, you can contact me at KFIREFORALL at yahoo.com, and maybe I can see you in Orlando. And Dr. Matt was telling me that it's a great place to bring your family. There's Disney World and all kinds of different activities to do there in the beautiful Sunshine State of Florida. And I would also like to shout out a hello to Eileen, who has really helped our process and the KAS1 teachings to reach many, many people. And she is moving out to Florida. We'll be doing some videos from Florida. And I'd like to say a shout out to Eileen. Hello, Eileen. Anyway, so back to the Kundalini. So the actual vibrations, the head-to-toe, toe-to-head vibrations, can have the action of activating the Kundalini. And no, you won't immediately have, you won't immediately become Jesus or Buddha. Okay, typically you won't. Typically you'll be taken to kindergarten, Kundalini kindergarten, and then Kundalini first grade, Kundalini second grade, Kundalini third grade, and so on and so forth. But the process can be started by the conscious out-of-body experience of having the vibrations go from the toe to the head and the head to the toe, toe to the head and the head to the toe. So just know that and be aware of that, so that if that begins to happen for you, you know what's going on. You have no reason to be afraid. No reason at all. And so I will suggest that you do that. Before the end of the show comes up here, we got about 16 minutes left. I want to, because I've been chastised by my students for not asking for donations. I've always had, when my Kundalini was coming up, I was poorer than I am now, which isn't saying much because I'm kind of poor now too. But I vowed to give as much information as for people who couldn't buy a book, or people who couldn't pay thousands of dollars to go to a seminar, or hundreds and hundreds of dollars to receive a Shaktipat. The commercial aspect has always irritated me, and which of course irritates a lot of the people that I do this, and it irritates them because, to some degree it cuts into their profit margin, and oh gosh, there's some aspect of me is sorry that you have that profit margin in the first place, and the other aspects of me are not sorry at all, because this information needs to come out, and your pocketbook should not be the measurement device on whether or not this information is disseminated to other people. Having said that, I will. There's a donation page. It's at Ascension Kundalini. So Ascension, ASCENSION Kundalini.blogspot.com. And you'll see it there. It's got you'll know it's from me. And then there's that PayPal button up there. So if you want to do a donation, then it would be gratefully accepted. And now you know the reasons why I don't charge. It's important for me that as many people as possible get this information. But I also understand, and I have been told many times, that people won't take you seriously unless you charge a whole bunch of money for a certain thing. And for these teachings, I feel that if people want to donate that money, then fine. But if people don't have the money, then they deserve also to be given the assistance that they need in order to move forward in their Kundalini awakening experience. And that's why I do what I do. That's why I do what I do. But I do need money to survive as well. And I'm down, I used to give seminars all the time, and basically I drained my bank account by giving seminars and not charging enough for to go. And so this is the whole history of this donation button thing. And a lot of people don't like that, so oh well. The out-of-body experience is a very profound experience. It will relieve any question that you may have about whether or not there is life after death. There is definitely consciousness and consciousness life after death. You will have no doubt. If you feel the back of your head, you may feel that silver cord attached there. It's kind of on the astral, it kind of appeared, at least for me, as kind of a bony protuberance from the back of the head where the connection was made, and from there, and maybe that's just for me. Maybe that's just for me. Other people can have it in different places. The separation sequence that I described with the hemisync, that is a registered trademark of Monroe Institute, and I don't use it in any way as an advertisement or any sort of an expression except from the fact that I purchased it, I used it, and I found that it worked. So there, put that out there. With regards to books about it, Scott Rogo put out a book, or ROGO, and then, of course, I mentioned Robert Monroe, and a few other folks know about this. The military knows about this. The military is far more informed with these types of spiritual phenomena than we give them credit for. They know about it. The Chinese military knows about it, the Russian military, the European militaries. The military establishment knows about the products of the spiritual industries. And by spiritual industries, I mean those industries that make a profit off of spiritual information, such as, well, I probably shouldn't mention anyone. But there's a huge spiritual industrial complex. Thank you, Dr. Matt, for that term. And this spiritual industrial complex has been explored and utilized by the military. And, they want to make a super soldier. They want to make somebody who can get into your head and read your thoughts and, kind of try to control you in these ways. So, within that understanding, they also know about the out-of-body experience. They understand that there is consciousness after death. And they know a lot more than what they're putting out. And that's maybe the way it should be. People can come into this gently and slowly and along the terms of their karma. So within that understanding, have some really, really fun and beautiful out-of-body experiences. Use any of the techniques that I've described here. They're all yours to use. Your body belongs to you. It doesn't belong to a corporation. It doesn't belong to anybody else. I will suggest that in my experience, let me just say what I do for myself. I won't accept a flu vaccine or any other kind of vaccine. I won't accept any kind of an SSRI medication. I won't take any kind of pharmaceutical medications. If you have the Kundalini, your Kundalini will modulate your health. If you don't have Kundalini, then get Kundalini. And if you have to take some of those drugs, then fine, that is for you. But for the Kundalini awakened person or those intending upon awakening, I would stay away from those harmful situations. And also only eat organic foods and organic waters. Only eat organic food and non-Monsanto-based food products. Only eat those products that are organic. Okay? That's another thing that I want you to understand is, you have a body that is precious. It's precious to you, and it's precious to what it is that you're here to do on a karmic level. It's essential that you take really good care of it. Take really good care of it. Kundalini, okay, so I have a question here from Dream Master. I thought Kundalini energy was within us all. Well, is within us all. Well, of course it is, but it's not awakened within us all. Not everybody gets to have that awakened at the same time. Because we have Kundalini doesn't mean that's an automatic invitation into an awakening. An awakening is as much a karmic event as it is somebody who wants to awaken their Kundalini. They find out about it and they want to awaken it. Not everybody is going to be able to find out about it even if they have it. Kundalini is what is behind our procreative energies. So, of course, everybody has Kundalini energy. All of us are products of the Kundalini energy. So no worries there, Dream Master One. No worries. You and I are in agreement. So if anybody else has any questions, we do have a chat board there that Dream Master is on, and it looks like Dream Master is typing a response. And so for the time that we have left, I'd be willing to entertain anybody's questions that they may have. And if they want to call 347-934-0026, you can call in directly and I'll talk with you in person. Or, as Dream Master is doing, I can read your response, and you are most welcome, Dream Master One, for that response. And I want to thank you for that excellent question as well. And it looks like that is about it for today's show. I would like to thank everyone who is there, like Dream Master One and guest 5286 and guest 4759 and guest 4428 and Amelia Santara and Eileen Laurel and Dr. Matt and Anne and Magdalene de Deus and all of my private students who are listening. I say hello to you all, and I thank you all for listening. And I thank everybody who's listening in the archives as you come to this information on your own. Listen to it in health and happiness. And let me end this program with the prayer of St. Francis of Assisi. And to me, Kundalini is the divine. And so I'm going to start it with the word Kundalini. Kundalini, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, let me sow faith. Where there is despair, let me give hope. Where there is darkness, let me give light. Where there is sadness, let me give joy. O Divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to give consolement, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive. It is in pardoning that we are pardoned. And it is dying to our ego that we are born into eternal life. Thank you, everyone, for listening. See you next week.
Hallo, hier ist Jürgen Klopp. Man denkt ja immer, die verrücktesten Angebote kommen aus Madrid, Barcelona oder Manchester. Aber das Verrückteste derzeit, das kommt aus Rüsselsheim. Nennt sich Opel Flat.
Das Sorglospaket mit 3 Jahren Garantie, 3 Inspektionen, 3 Jahren Mobilservice und bis zu 4.000 € Preisvorteil. Die Opel Flat, jetzt für viele Opel-Modelle.